All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our NBA video here today for Tuesday, April 6th. Tuesday, April 6th. Now, my name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And, despite another pretty tough day on my Patreon website yesterday, we're still hitting at 70% in our last 10 $1.99 daily best plays on my Patreon page. We're also hitting at 73% in our last 30 extra daily pick tier package plays on that Patreon website as well. So we're still showing some significant long-term success there. Now, we currently have over 1,175 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually featuring and betting on personally, link for that Patreon page is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. With that, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Bulls Pacers, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The Chicago Bulls are the 1-point favorite on the road here. Totals 226 flat. And if you like the Pacers in the slightest of upsets on their home court, they're minus 105 on the money line. Now, the Pacers have dropped 3 out of their last 4 ball games, just 2-5 against the spread in their last 7. We're also looking at a Pacer team who's been awful at home this year. Now, out of Indy's 22 home games, they've only got the W in just 8 of them. And even worse than that, Indiana has successfully covered the point spread in just 27% of their home games. The Pacers' 2 leading scorers are both questionable for tonight's contest. Brogdon and Sabonis are both listed as day-to-day with lower body injuries. Jeremy Lamb's also listed as questionable for the Pacers as well. They're taking on a Chicago team who's done a very nice job covering the number on the road this season. The Bulls are currently 16-6 against the spread when they travel, and that's good for 73% in that particular category. Now, the Bulls are in the top 5 in the NBA in road scoring, top 10 in road offensive rebounding. Zach LaVine is scoring 27 points a game for Chicago, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, Nick Vucevic is scoring over 20 points a game for the Bulls already himself. 9 rebounds, 3 assists for the big center in his limited action with Chicago. Now, Chicago scores 116 points per contest away from home. They're also in the top 10 in road defensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, Chicago's 60% to the over in their last 10 outings, 6-4 to the over in their last 10 meetings with Indy. Meanwhile, the Pacers are 29-19 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago Bulls -1 and the over 226. Next ball game, Lakers, Raptors, 7:30 p.m. Eastern start time. The Toronto Raptors are the 2-point favorite at home. Totals 210.5. Now, as bad as the Lakers have been without their stars, the Raptors have been equally as disappointing this season with their stars in action. Toronto's lost 7 out of their last 10, and they currently find themselves 10 games below 500 for the season. Now, the Raptors have struggled getting rebounds. They're dead last in the NBA in offensive rebounding, bottom 10 in defensive rebounding as well. The Raptors are also banged up a little bit. Van Fleet, Watson, McCall, and Hood, they're all questionable. Kyle Lowry still out with a foot. They're taking on a Laker team who somehow managed to win 3 out of their last 5 themselves, and that includes victories over the likes of Sacramento, Orlando, and Cleveland. And much to my surprise, it was actually the defense that really stepped up for these, LA role players right now. They've given up just 97 points a game on average in their last 5 straight. Now, granted, LeBron and AD, they're still out for LA. You're not going to see them here tonight. However, Dennis Schroeder really stepping up. He's scoring over 15 a night for the Lakers, 3 rebounds, 5 assists for the veteran point guard, playing some pretty good defense. Meanwhile, Montrezl Harrell's dropping over 15 a night himself, along with 6 rebounds. Now, total-wise, LA's last 6 straight all stayed under the line, 90% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Raptors saw their last 3 straight stay under the total themselves, 60% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the underdog, LA Lakers, +2, and the under 210.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Sixers versus the Celtics, 7:30 p.m. Eastern tip-off. Now, the Sixers are the 2-point favorite on the road here. Totals 223 juice to the under. And if you like the Celtics in a slight upset at the Garden, they're plus $1.15 for some money line cash. Now, the Celtics have won just 7 of 18 when catching plus money this year, really struggling to win as the underdog. They've also struggled on the defensive end of the court in the second half this year. Really struggling in the second half defensively. They're in the bottom 10 in third quarter points allowed, bottom 10 in fourth quarter points allowed at home. Now they're taking on a Sixer team who actually won 6 out of their last 9. And they also successfully covered the point spread in 7 out of their last 10. The Sixers have been solid offensively this season. They're in the top 10 in scoring on average per contest. They're also in the top 5 in the association in offensive rebounding. And of course, Joel Embiid's leading the charge with nearly 30 points a game, along with 11 boards and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Tobias Harris is dropping over 20 a night himself. 7 rebounds, 3 assists for the starting forward. Now, the Philadelphia 76ers, they've also been very solid defensively on the road, giving up only 108 points per contest when they travel. They're also in the top 5 in road defensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Philly's last 4 did stay under the number, 70% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Boston's last 5 straight stayed under the line themselves, 14-10 to the under at the TD Garden. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia 76ers -2 and the under 223. Next contest, it is going to be Pelicans versus the Hawks, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Star Time. The Atlanta Hawks are -3.5, totals 227 juice to the over. The Hawks are on a 3-game winning streak, 60% against the point spread in their last 10. And despite the absence of John Collins here this evening, Clint Capella is going to be back in action here tonight, so the Hawks should be pretty sound when it comes to rebounding, pretty strong, rebounding-wise here this evening. Now, as a matter of fact, Atlanta's in the top 10 in both offensive and defensive rebounding. And when it comes to the scoring, they're actually led by Trae Young, who's dropping over 25 points a night, along with 3 rebounds and 9 assists. Now, Clint Capella, he's also averaging over 14 rebounds a game, along with 15 points per contest himself. Atlanta's in the top 3 in defending the 3-ball on their home court. They're also holding their opponents to just 32% shooting from beyond the arc at the State Farm Arena. Now, Atlanta's taking on a banged-up Pelicans team who may have to go to work here tonight without the efforts of Williamson, Ingram, Lewis, and Adams. All of those key players are listed as questionable for tonight's contest. Alexander Walker and Hart are both ruled out as well. Now, the Pelicans have dropped 2 out of their last 3 ball games. And they still find themselves 5 games below 500. They get a lot of attention. They get a lot of money. It's kind of like the fancy new toy. But, guys, they're still 5 games below 500. They're not even a winning team. They also really struggled on the road this year, winning only 36% of their ball games away from home. Now, the Pels have really played some bad defense all year long. They're in the bottom 5 defensively in points allowed, dead last in defending the 3-ball on the road. Their opponents are actually hitting 41% of their 3-pointers against them when they travel. Now, total-wise, once again, a lot of scores potentially out for the Pelicans here today. They also saw 5 out of their last 8 stay under the line, throwing out the Houston game. Meanwhile, Atlanta is 12-9 to the under at the State Farm Arena. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Hawks -3.5 and the under 227. Next ball game, it is going to be Grizzlies versus the Heat, 8 o'clock East. Now, the Miami Heat, they're -5, totals 216. Despite being favored by 5 in this spot here, we're looking at a Miami squad who's been pretty bad covering the point spread at home. Now, out of their 26 home games, the Heat's successfully covered the number in just 38% of those contests. Now, Miami, they've also struggled to put up points on the board. They've struggled to score. They're in the bottom 5 in the NBA in scoring on average per contest. They're also in the bottom 5 in shooting the 3-ball. Now, they're taking on a Memphis squad who's been playing some pretty good basketball recently, 3-1 straight up in their last 4, 6-3 straight up in their last 9. Now, the Grizzlies are actually coming fresh off a very impressive 16-point dismantling of the first-place Sixers the other night. Memphis does I'm sorry, are the Sixers still in first in the East? I don't know why I said that. I believe they are. If not, they're atop. It's either them or Milwaukee. I'm drawing a blank here. But anyway, Memphis does a fine job covering on the road as well. 13-8 against the spread when traveling, 12-9 straight up in those road games. The Grizzlies score a good amount of points away from home. Top 10 in road scoring, top 10 in road offensive rebounding. Despite the absence of Melton and Winslow here tonight, Memphis is still led by Ja Morant, who's scoring 19 points a game, along with 3 rebounds and 7.5 assists. Meanwhile, Jonas Valanciunas is bringing down 12.5 boards per contest himself, 16 points a game for the big center as well. Now, total-wise, Memphis has seen their fair share of overs recently. 5 out of their last 8 contests got over the total. 13-8 to the over on the road for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Heat saw 4 out of their last 6 get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Memphis Grizzlies plus 5 in the over 216. Next contest, Pistons Nuggets, 9 p.m. Eastern tip-off. The Denver Nuggets are minus 13.5, totals 215 flat. But despite a really good run here recently, the Nuggets haven't covered the point spread all that well at the Ball Arena this year. Now, out of their 24 home games, Denver's covered the point spread just 10 times. The Nuggets also failed to cover the point spread in 6 out of their last 10 meetings with Detroit. So if you're into historical trends, just keep that in mind. And speaking of the Pistons, they've actually picked up the W in 3 out of their last 5 outings themselves, 60% against the number in their last 10. Now, of course, the usual suspects are on the injury report here for Detroit. Ellington, Magruder, and Plumlee all listed as questionable. But Jeremy Grant's averaging over 22 points per contest. We're going to see him in action here tonight. 4 rebounds, 2 assists for the starting forward. Meanwhile, Hammy Diallo's scoring over a dozen a game himself. 5 rebounds, 2 assists for Diallo. Now, the Pistons haven't done a whole lot, they haven't done a whole lot well this year. But one thing they've been solid on is second half defense. They're actually in the top 10 in third quarter points allowed. And they're also in the top 10 in fourth quarter points allowed as well. A lot of people don't know that. But anyway, total-wise, we are seeing a lot of overs for Detroit recently. 2-0 to the over in the last couple of ball games. 75% to the over in their last 8. Meanwhile, the Nuggets have gone 15-9 to the over as the official home team. I'm going to lean toward the underdog, Detroit Pistons, plus 13.5 in the over 215. Next ball game, it is going to be Bucks versus the Warriors, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The Milwaukee Bucks are the 6.5-point favorite on the road, totals 237. Now, PJ Tucker's out for the Bucks tonight. Giannis Antetokounmpo is listed as questionable with a knee. And the Bucks really have struggled to cover the point spread on the road this year. They've only covered in just 9 of 24 road games. Milwaukee also shoots their foul shots pretty poorly, and they give up a good amount of points when they travel. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks, they're in the bottom 10 in the entire league in road points allowed. And equally as bad to that, the Bucks have struggled to defend the 3-ball on the road as well. They're actually letting their opponents make 40% of their 3-pointers when they're away from their home court. So keep those factors in mind if you're thinking that Milwaukee's a lock here tonight. They're also taking on a Golden State squad who, despite their struggles recently, they really kind of take solace at home. They're 14-9 straight up at the Chase Center, and they rank in the top 10 in shooting the 3-ball at home as well. Now, Steph Curry, he's scoring 29 points a night, 5 rebounds, 6 assists for the NBA champion. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins is scoring over 18 a game himself, 4 rebounds, couple assists for Wiggins. Now, the Warriors make nearly 40% of their 3-pointers on their home court. They're also in the top 10 in fourth quarter scoring. Now, when it comes to the number in this one, significant unders for Golden State recently. 3-1 to the under in their last 4, 70% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Bucks on the other side of things, they saw 3 out of their last 5 stay under the line themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward yet another underdog in this one. Give me the Golden State Warriors plus 6.5 and the under 237. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Blazers versus the Clippers, 10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Clippers are minus 5.5, totals 229. The Clippers are 7-2 straight up in their last 9, 18-8 straight up as the official home team. The Clippers currently lead the NBA in three-point percentage and shooting from the stripe. And despite the absence of Serge Ibaka and possibly Patrick Beverley here this evening, the Clippers are still led by Kawhi Leonard, who scores over 25.5 points a night, along with 6 rebounds and 4 assists. Meanwhile, Paul George is scoring 22 a game, along with 6 rebounds and 5 assists as well. The Clippers score 116 points a game as the official home team. They're also drilling nearly 42% of their three-pointers at the Staples Center as well. Now they're taking on a Portland Trailblazer team who's really struggled defensively this year, despite their record. I know they've got a good record, but man, do they give up a lot of points. The Blazers are in the bottom 3 in the NBA in defensive field goal percentage. They're also in the bottom 5 in points allowed. Now, Portland gives up nearly 116 points per contest when they travel. Jones and Nurkic are questionable here this evening. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, 4 out of Portland's last 6 did get over the number. 15-9 to the over in their road games. Meanwhile, the Clippers are 15-11 to the over as the official home team themselves. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers minus 5.5 and the over 229. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. Give me Chicago minus 1 over 226. LA Lakers plus 2 under 210.5. Philadelphia minus 2 under 223. Atlanta Hawks minus 3.5 under 227. Memphis Grizzlies plus 5 over 216. Detroit plus 13.5 over 215. Golden State plus 6.5 under 237. And before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are hitting at 70% in our last 10 $1.99 daily best plays on my Patreon website. We're also hitting at 73% in our last 30 extra daily pick tier package plays on that Patreon page as well, showing some pretty good long-term success there. I like the LA Clippers minus 5.5 and the over 229. With that, guys, we're going to dive into some shout-outs to our top 10 YouTube commenters over the past couple of days or so. Shout out to Tyler Dorso, Calico Jones, Prajit Shrestha, Eric Peterson, Tremaine Jordan. Shout out to Nate Page, my long-lost cousin, Nate Page. Stephanie Zotwood, Philly Oso, Khadijah Rita, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my good friend, Gloria K. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.